Hello everyone, Jeff here. So in last week's video I had been working on the tile set for Lantros and came across a problem that we didn't have a good solution when it comes to generating textures and texturing our new meshes. So this week I've been working on our texturing solution, and probably no surprise to those of you who've been paying attention to the project for some time, I'm working on bringing back to life our canvas tool. Now the canvas tool was part of Toi Studio. So this week I spent quite a bit, in fact all of this week was spent importing the Canvas editor from Toi Studio to be part of the new Antilia Editor. And this required a bit of effort removing features that were no longer relevant to the real-time collaboration and sharing of the data. So I do want to acknowledge and apologize for some of the rendering artifacts and user interface glitches that you're going to see in this video. It's simply become a bit of a reality when working on this project that the video updates are not going to always fall when it's convenient for me to make them, but I still want to do these video updates and keep you in the loop, even if things are not always right where I want them to be when I make the video. So things are looking a little rough still, but a lot of important features were ported over this week. In fact, I thought that it was going to take just Sunday to port it over, and then I'd spend the rest of the week adding new features relevant to what we need to do with the Lantros style. Instead, what happened was it took all week, all the way up until this morning to get it ported over. There was just a lot more to this little tool than I thought there was, as far as the canvas rendering, the different stroke styles, all these little effectors, and even more complex just user interaction stuff like the different ways you can set handle modes and such like that. A couple things I really like about using this style of editor is that it's all vector based. It's not based on pixels. So as time goes on, we can improve the algorithms we use to generate our brush strokes and our particle systems. And just by reloading the file and exporting it as an image again, we get those improvements in any image we want. The pixel data in this stuff is not baked into the original save file. So we can improve things over time. And the same goes for styles. If we have a style for something like a rope, we can go back and improve our rope brush, go into the images that use that brush, and re-export them with nicer effects and appearance without too much effort. Another thing that's great about these kind of vector data images is if we change a mesh, instead of having to repaint the texture, we can simply go in here and maybe move around the lines that are affected by the change. And it'll be much easier for us to manage this stuff versus a pixel-based texture system. So now that the tool is ported over, I can continue working on adding features that are specifically relevant to creating textures for building tiles. And some of those features would include things like a snap to grid system. Obviously with building tiles there's a lot of 90-degree angles, so having a grid system would be really useful. Additional fill styles, obviously. Right now it's all kind of like line styles, but I only have the single solid fill style. Gradients and texture fills would be very valuable for this. Another thing would be a 3D mesh preview. Being able to see your texture on the 3D mesh as you're editing it would be extremely helpful, of course. And finally, a feature that allows us to create multiple output targets. And this is kind of technical. What it means is I can make a brush stroke that generates diffuse color, specular mapping, normal mapping, height offsets, all in one brush stroke. And I think that's incredibly valuable. That's something I don't see in a lot of editors like this. So that's going to wrap up this week's episode. If you have any thoughts or comments on what I've been able to show so far with the Canvas tool, go ahead and leave them in the comment section down below. I always appreciate your feedback. And I hope you'll tune in next week, where I'm going to hopefully have this a little further along, and I can give you a bit of a tour of how it would be used to create textures for the Lantros building style. So I hope to see you then. A special thanks goes to this month's Patreon supporters. If you'd like to support the project, you can do so by visiting www.patreon.com/Antilia.